Hey, so let's go over how to get started with the shotgun. So first of all, you want to start the shotgun in your terminal in VS Code or your IDE that you prefer. Second, when the shotgun starts up, it's going to ask you if you want to index the code. You probably want to do that if you're in, the repository that you want to index. Secondly, the shotgun is going to create this folder called .shotgun. This is going to be important later. So you notice that the shotgun has a terminal, and in the bottom right, we can see the context window and the model we've selected. I've selected GPT-5 just to start with. But here, we're in the research mode, and I'm going to ask the researcher, how can we add subagents to this repo, and to ask me clarifying questions. So let's see what questions it comes up with. All right, so the shotgun did quite a bit of research and came up with some research.md context. So it found some information while searching, wrote it out to the research.md file, which is kind of like a Blackboard where the agents can share information and also share with the user. So it also asks us some questions, so I'm going to go ahead and answer those right now, and then we'll see what else it can come up with in the research. All right, so the shotgun asked me quite a number of questions, and we did a lot of research. And we see the context window is now 44.8% full. We do have 400K context window, but we have to leave some room for compaction. And the shotgun will auto-compact when it does get full enough so that it won't fail. But I think now that the research is done, we're ready to move on to the next mode. But before I do that, I want to save a little bit of cost, and I'm going to do that by Control+P, and then compact the conversation. And now it's going to compact the conversation, so it's a little bit better when we pass it off to the next mode. Maybe I'll even switch LLMs to Claude or something before moving on to the next one. So it actually looks like compaction really did a lot of work and compacted a lot of things down. And remember, a lot of what we need is actually now in the research file because the researcher writes all its work down. And all these other tool calls we kind of didn't need to pass on to the next mode. So now I'm going to move on to the next mode. So in specifications, first I'm going to change the provider, Control+P. Select the AA model, so we'll select Sonnet, and my context window is still pretty small, so we'll do we'll ask it to build a spec for building subagents, and this is in the spec mode, so it should ask me clarifying questions first. All right, so the shotgun decided to ask me a bunch of clarifying questions before it writes the spec. So I'm going to answer all these questions and see what it comes up with. All right, so the shotgun asked me a bunch of clarifying questions, and then once I answered those, it asked me even more clarifying questions. You can see our context window still has not gotten too big, so it's not too bad. But now we have a specifications file where it wrote everything down and also wrote in the contracts. So this is how we'll pass information back and forth between the subagent. So now we can move on to having it write a plan for us. But before we do that, let's again, we could clear the conversation, which would blow everything away. But we'll just compact it again. So come back in a second, see how much that's compacted. All right, so it compacted it quite a bit. So now let's go ahead and switch modes to the planning mode. We can see that we're still 10K tokens, 6.3%. We're using Sonnet 4.5. That's a good one for writing plans. So let's let's write a plan for what we've built. So the planning agent has access to all the files here, so it can write a nice plan for us. Let's see what it comes up with. All right, so the plan agent has asked us some clarifying questions. It's also written a plan. So I'm going to go ahead and review the plan and answer its clarifying questions. All right, so it came up with a nice plan there. We could go ahead and move over to the task mode and have it generate tasks for us, and then have it export some agents.md file or a PRD for us. But first I want to go over, we can actually see the context window. So at any time you can do Control+P, show context, and we can see how much of the context window is being taken up. This way we can kind of control the costs on our side. And here we've written a spec for subagents, and it is something that we're going to implement soon, which should save a lot of the context window by assigning work to the subagents so it doesn't pollute the main context window. But here you have more tools right now to control the context window by either clearing it or just compacting it yourself before it hits the compaction limit. But yeah, thanks for coming to my demo.